Oh my God, babe, this just in. Singles are 40% more active than people in relationships, regardless of age and financial status. I mean, I get it. If you're constantly marketing yourself on a dating app, then of course you have to look good. You got to be out there being active. But if you're just chilling at home all the time with the same person, then it doesn't really matter. And get this, 64% of those people blame the relationship for the weight gain. In the beginning of the relationship, it's more ego driven. So they feel the need to impress. You know, you're single and you do want to be chosen. Everybody wants to be chosen. So we're going to do everything we can in our power to get picked. We're all pick-me's. Humans are not any different than animals in the jungle trying to score a mate. And in the animal world, it's mostly, generally, almost always the males that are doing the impressing of the females. But in the human world, patriarchy has kind of brought women to compete amongst themselves for a male. So it's all competition at first. So of course, people are out there marketing themselves on Tinder and what's your price and all those dating apps. And for women, our list of things that we have to do in order to attract a mate is crazy. I mean, we're talking, some of us, we have to get our nails done, pedicures, lashes, there's microblading, micro needling, a lot of micro shit. There's hair extensions, fake hair, wigs, hair transplants. I mean, the list just goes on. And then on top of that, we want to make sure that our asses look right, but our waists are small, and then our tits are at least like a B cup, and we don't want our backs to be too big because you don't want to be a big back, you know. And then your feet has to be a size 7, 6, a 10 is weird, and it's just, God, the list goes on. And then men, they go to the barbershop and they get a shape up, and they're done. They put on a nice pair of sneakers and maybe some clean underwear, and he's good to go. But for women, it's not like that. And then once you get into a relationship, it's like, all right, cool, I don't gotta have to do all this effort anymore, and I don't have to like spend all this money and to compete with the other hoes. So you kind of start to let yourself go. You know, you don't shave your legs as much, so you don't need razors. You're not really shaving your pussy either, so you don't need those bikini Brazilian waxes. You know, you might see your Dominican hair salon lady only for like special events, like if it's your birthday or he's got a little work trip. That's it. You're chilling. You know, and if you're eating a lot, then who cares? Like, go ahead. If you're letting yourself go, he's gonna love you anyways. I mean, that's the whole point. That's literally the whole point, that people want somebody. And so it's like, look, I just want to be here, be me, and be loved. So however I show up now, who cares? And they let themselves go. How long should people date before coloring together? That is the $1 million question. All right, gather round, kids. Honestly, I think my mom was right. You should probably wait until you get married before you start coloring with somebody. Because if you find out that you have different coloring techniques and that you're not into coloring outside the lines and he and she is more into coloring in the lines, then you guys might be fighting over who's going to color where. Anyways, I don't know if you guys know what the heck I'm talking about, but I'm talking about being intimate with someone. How long should you hold off before you're intimate with someone? I personally feel like it's a power exchange. And I think that people should kind of understand their place. And that takes a while before you start to establish a power dynamic. And around intimacy, there's a lot of power dynamics that happen. And you don't know that about a person right away. So when I was younger, I was definitely like more into rushing to get intimate. But Now that I'm older, I think it's best that you just wait for as long as you can. Because people switch up after you have the birds and the bees, and people switch up after you color with them. They always do. Everybody always switches up after a coloring session. It's just how it is. And sometimes people switch off for a good way, and then other times some people switch into some weird, creepy, you know. So hold off on it. Hold off on coloring for as long as you can, or as long as you physically can. This just in. 3 in 10 parents admitted to using marijuana recreationally. Ooh, hot. This is a hot topic about should parents do a little doobie. And here's the thing, you guys. Let parents be people. I think that we have to stop putting parents on a pedestal and making it seem like people who are parents are so special. We're not. We're people that fucked and decided to reproduce. And most of us didn't even decide to reproduce. Our bodies decided for us, and then we're left with it. So we're like, okay, cool, let's do this. You know what I mean? Like, other people are doing it, so let's raise this human. But at the end of the day, like, I'm still the degenerate that I was before I had the kid. You know, now I just have to, like, hide it a little better. And I don't think it's 3 in 10 parents. I think it's more like 6 in 10 parents are smoking weed. It's just that a lot of us are not talking about it. We're staying hush-hush. But there are some of us who are sending our kids to school smelling like weed. And I suggest that if you're gonna do it, don't try to like send your kids to school smelling like weed, you know what I mean? But if a lot of us are doing it and a lot of the kids are pulling up to school smelling like weed, then maybe we can all kind of like form an alliance. Get together, you know what I mean? I want to know the other pothead parents. Where are you guys at? You know? It does help. It does help. I understand that using marijuana is cool. And it makes people feel good. And it's tough out here with these kids, man. A lot of us don't have a village anymore. And so weed becomes our village. And why would you take that away from us? For some of us, it's all we got. In the study too, 59% of parents who are single reported smoking more weed than only the 41% of parents who are married. Well, duh. You have a little sidekick. You got a partner. You have a friend. You have somebody that's going to help you with these damn fucking lousy, dumbass kids. When you're a single parent, weed is your partner. Weed is your co-parent. I mean, there were days when I was all alone trying to entertain a 3-year-old. And I'm so grateful I had weed. I'm so grateful that I was able to go to the bathroom while she had her little Dino Nuggets and her Dora the Explorer on the DVD that she'd been watching for the last week. And I got to go and take a couple tokes from my bong. Those were some happy moments for both of us. So yeah, definitely. And because I know that when I'm not high, I tend to snap. And every parent that I have hung out with and I've gotten high with was a good parent, let me tell you. A good parent. They cared. It's the alcoholic parents that you gotta watch out for. But that's a thing for another day. Do I think people should stay together after cheating? Not everybody can survive after cheating. So most people should break up after they get cheated on or there's an affair. But the very few that are strong, that will survive, I feel like they're gonna go to a whole different level of growth, consciousness in their relationship, human spirit, freedom, love. I think there's a lot of good that can come out of cheating and an affair in a relationship if the couple is willing to do the really hard, difficult inner work of transmuting all that pain and turning it into something beautiful, into something different. And kind of like how out of manure, like out of shit, we get food. It's kind of like that. Like you can take the manure, which was the cheating of the relationship, and you can fertilize that and make something beautiful. But the rest of you, just let it go. That's all I gotta say about that right now. All right. What is dating like after divorce? I'm gonna tell you right now, expect the unexpected. It's like the Twilight Zone. I'm glad that I got divorced in my late 20s because I was in my late 20s, so you have a lot more time to kind of waste and spare. But right now, if I was getting divorced, like some of these people who are getting divorced in like their late 30s and early 40s that I'm seeing, and they're going out there dating, have at it. If you have the money and the time to spare, have at it. You know what I mean? But if you're broke, then you should not be worried about dating and going out there because you're broke. Focus on mending your heart and mending your bank account because divorces can get really expensive. And so does dating. You spend a lot of time on those dating apps, spend a lot of time at the gym trying to impress somebody, only for that date to go sour, and then only for you to come back home and feel bad about yourself. Don't do that. I did that. It wasn't fun. I drank a lot back then too. It wasn't fun. So I suggest that if you're getting divorced, don't focus on dating. Focus on getting your steps in. I didn't know that I was an immigrant until I was about 12 years old, when I was finally going to go back to Honduras for the first time since I came when I was 3. And I had to go through all this paperwork. We had to go to the Honduran embassy in Washington, D.C. I had to take a day off from school to do this. And when we got there, there was all white people working behind the desk. But everybody at the embassy were Hondurans. And that was the first time I ever saw a whole group of Hondurans. Because in my school, everybody was either Asian or white or Russian or Jewish. And I knew that I was different, but I didn't realize how different I was until my family arrived to the Honduran embassy. And the way that those workers, those clerks treated us in there as if we were outcasts, aliens. They kept saying, like, what's your alien number? We need your alien number. And I'm thinking, I'm an alien? I didn't know that we're aliens? What does she mean? We're from Honduras. I know that. And the discrimination that we felt because we were asking permission from the U.S. government to let us go to Honduras to visit our family and also let us come back. So I knew other kids in my class traveled, but I didn't know anybody who was asking the government permission to leave the country and come back. I didn't understand that. I'm like, what do you mean? We came all this way to ask the Honduran embassy through the U.S. government to let us leave to go out to Honduras for a week. We're only gonna go like a week or two, but make sure that they were gonna let us come back in. It was a whole process, and I think it cost my parents about $600 to do that. And that's the first time that I realized, we're not from here. We have to jump through all these hoops in order to go to where we are from. And then in order to be welcomed back to the country that I have known since I was almost 4 years old. And my parents work here and we live here and I go to school here and we pay taxes here. It was really tough at 12 years old to wrap my mind around the fact that there was a possibility that my family would go back to Honduras and then I would not be able to come back in. It was one of those monumental revelations that you have growing up. And then after that, you don't ever see the world. After that, you don't see the world the same. After that, everything kind of started to make sense a little bit, though, with my life. And the feeling of, oh, I've been feeling like an outcast because I am an outcast. And as an immigrant, you're constantly feeling like you don't belong here. You constantly feel like you're living in a stranger's house. But we do belong here. Everybody that is here belongs here in some way. What are psychedelics like? Psychedelics are like those little best friends that come when you least expect them, but you need them the most. And then the whole time that they're there, they're making you do stuff out of your comfort zone. They're making you, if you hate the color red, now you're wearing a red tutu around the house. A psychedelic trip is like being in a waking dream. And it can go on either way. Some are really heartfelt. Like I realized in one psychedelic trip that I was a goddess. And I called her the Mayan goddess. And I saw her dancing on my thigh with a scar that I had gotten about 5 months prior because I fell on a hiking trip in California. And then 6 months later, I had this little goddess on my thigh that was dancing. And I was like, oh, look, that's a Mayan goddess. And I never met her before. I didn't know who she was. She just presented herself to me. And it was because I was on a psychedelic high. And it was also my birthday. It's a lot more fun when you do it on your birthday. So she was a little gift. Psychedelic trips bring a lot of little gifts. I realize I'm loved when I do a psychedelic trip. I realize I'm really loved, and then it's like a feeling, it's really overwhelming, but it's a good overwhelming. It all depends on what your mental state is like. If you're in a weird place, then you're going to have a weird trip. But if you go in there with good intentions and you go in there with the intention of, I want to get something good out of this, you're going to pee your pants. I've never taken a mushroom trip alone, though. I'm scared. I kind of want to do that. Maybe for 2026, I'll finally take my first mushroom trip alone. I have friends that have done it, and they say great things. 10 out of 10 recommend. How to get over imposter syndrome? Be an imposter first. Yeah, it's the only way. In order to get over feeling like you don't belong in the room, go to a room that you don't belong in. And then overcome that first time. And then you do it again. You go to another room that you don't belong in, and you show up in that room, and you survive being in that room. And little by little, once you start doing things that you shouldn't be doing, and going to places that you shouldn't be going, and being in rooms that you don't belong in, little by little, that imposter syndrome becomes a lot more manageable. And I really had no business going and dancing on a pole, but I did it. And then after that, I felt like I could really do anything. So I tried to do stand-up. And that was actually a lot scarier. And I definitely felt like an imposter. And even now, 8 months later, I still do sometimes. But the more I do it, the less fake I feel. So I guess it goes hand in hand with fake it till you make it. Watching other people helps also. Like watching other people bomb on stage is really helpful too. Going to open mics and seeing other people that have been doing comedy longer and they go up there and they have the confidence, but they still bomb. It's helpful because we all got to start somewhere. We're all going to bomb, you know, sooner or later. What's it like being a female comedian? It's just like being a regular comedian, except I have a vagina. And yeah, there really is no difference. The only difference is I have titties and a vagina. Other than that, we're all pretty much the same as the males. I'm a triple Aquarius, and I feel bad for my husband. As a triple Aquarius, that means I am an Aquarius moon, rising, and sun. Sun, moon, rising. And I'm also an Aquarius Venus, so actually I'm a quadruple Aquarius. And those are the biggest impactful signs in your chart, is your sun, your moon, your rising, and your Venus. Your sun is the personality that you show the world, your ego. Your moon is the personality that you kind of keep internal. This is the one that mostly only people who have known you a long time, really close friends, your spouse, your best friend, they'll see like your moon, your kids will see your moon sign, your moon side. And then your rising, you become more of your rising the older that you get. It's like the personality that you're going to grow into. And then your Venus is how you show up in love and how you want to be loved. So because I'm an Aquarius in all sun, moon, rising, and Venus, I'm all over the fucking place. Because Aquarius is in general all over the place. So then my chart is literally in a sign that is so, it's air, it's very intellectual, so very cerebral, it's all in my head. A lot of it is really, really mental for Aquarius. So yeah. It's kind of, being a quadruple Aquarius is definitely a mental illness in its own. But we are geniuses. We are geniuses. Like I have met 2 other triple Aquarius people in my life, but they were on social media, so technically I didn't meet them, but still I met them on a Facebook group. And it was cool, and they were both saying that they were super fucking weird. But smart and misunderstood. So I was like, yeah, checks all the boxes. What's it like being bipolar and having a relationship? It feels like a cross, like I'm carrying a cross. And it feels like it's just a burden. It's like there's this like entity, this energy. It's like the elephant in the room, but nobody wants to address it. But it's there. We can feel it. Everybody can see it, feel it, but we don't want to address the elephant in the room. But when it shows up, it's a problem. Like when the bipolarness shows up in ways that make you more of a difficult person to live with. If I'm irritable, or if I'm just more like low energy, or if I just feeling down and sad, it's a lot harder to feel those feelings while you also have somebody who doesn't understand where they're coming from. Because sometimes I don't even know where they're coming from, but I feel responsible for them. And then the high is cool. The high can be good because in the high part, in the manic part, we're more fun to be around. We're more energetic, like we're more lively. You know, I'm willing to go outside, want to do different things, more impulsive. But that's short-lived. You know, it's always, there's what comes up must come down. So that's kind of like the name of the game, being bipolar. Knowing that I'm going to be happy, but this isn't gonna like last for long. I'm gonna be energetic and be productive, but I know that sooner or later, this is gonna be this cloud that's just gonna fucking show up. And I try, I think people who are bipolar and they're aware, and especially if they're taking medication, we try to kind of avoid it, but sometimes it just sneaks up on you, and it's really tough. It's really tough if you're in a relationship. People who are bipolar struggle a lot in their relationships. How do you know if you have a good husband? That's the question. How do you know? How can you ever know, right? Well, coming from somebody that feels like I have a good husband, I can say that I know that I have a good husband because on the days where I have been extremely unlovable and just not a nice, likable person, he still showed up. He still tried to love me. He still tried to do something to put a smile on my face or put a smile on my kid's face. I mean, I'm talking in moments where I look back and I'm like, bitch, that man should have left. Because I can be pretty impossible. And a lot of women can. Women are not easy to always please. And I think good husbands will do whatever it takes to please. Even in times where our moods are so erotic. A good husband is one that is able to stay stable while you're...
Good husband is one that's able to stay stable?
A good husband is one that is able to stay stable when you're so mentally unstable. Think of it like someone who goes whitewater rafting, right? So women are that white water. They're that crazy river. That's how our moods are. Women are erotic, or some of us more than others. And a whitewater rafter, he has to make sure that he's managing that white water. It's called a river, right? The people that go whitewater rafting, right? Okay. Yeah. So a good man, a good husband, he's the rafter. He's the one that's just pushing through all these emotions and feelings and moods and questions and personalities and on demands and nags and I can't stop fucking sucking my dick, While the water's just going crazy, he stays there. He stays safe. He stays above. He stays afloat. He stays secure. It's a good husband. Because if he can't stay stable, if he can't stay up and have control of himself, he's going to fall and flumber into the water and get hurt. Vulnerability means being seen 100% truly for who you are. You're not wearing the mask anymore. We're all wearing masks. And when you decide to be vulnerable, whether it's with a person or with a group of people, you're taking off that mask. You're letting people see who you really are. And it's not easy. It's scary being vulnerable. But it's also very empowering. If you allow yourself to be vulnerable, it can be very empowering. And I think people who allow themselves to be vulnerable have better relationships and connections than people who don't allow themselves to be vulnerable. I mean, I know for me, someone who can tell me a vulnerable fact about themselves or have a vulnerable moment or share something that might be difficult for them, I have so much more love and respect. And I feel closer to that person after they've been vulnerable. And I feel closer to someone after they've let me be vulnerable with them. So vulnerability also means closeness. If you were vulnerable with someone and that ended the relationship, it didn't work out, that person got mad, that wasn't a strong relationship to even begin with. Because when vulnerability is shown, it should bring a true connection closer together, not make it fall apart. How do you survive Catholic school? Well, I'm still recovering. You survive Catholic school by just playing by the Catholic school name and game. You survive Catholic school by playing by the Catholic school game. You do just as much as they want you to do, and not a single thing more. If they ask you to pray the rosary 10 times in a day, do it 9 times. But don't do it 11. Don't take them so serious. Don't take the nuns. Don't take them so serious because they're people too. The priests and the nuns. They're all fighting their own demons. They're all fighting their own temptations. Even though it seems like they're not. People in the clergy are way more. Sometimes it's just the Catholic Church did it to themselves. But there's a lot of kinkiness going on. So when they tell you don't have sex, take that shit with a grain of salt. Because they're going to tell you not to do that quite often. So just don't do like what I did, and I stressed out about it bad. I thought that I was going to do it, and then Jesus was just not going to talk to me. Because he already wasn't talking to me. So I'm like, now he's definitely not going to talk to me. Make sure you have a good little group of friends. This is important. I had me, my 3 gringas. You're going to need a Jessica, a Jennifer, and a Megan. Very helpful to have yourself a good little solid group of... If they have money, even better. Because it can get a little boring in Catholic school. But it's nice when the rich kids have money, because then they invite you to really cool birthday parties. Like they have pool parties in the summer. So I highly suggest you try to at least make it to one birthday party. Don't have sex, though, while you're in Catholic school. I suggest you don't, because you will get pregnant. And then you will be the one pregnant kid in Catholic school, and everybody's going to stare at you and be like, what the fuck? So don't do that. And try not to smoke any weed inside the school either. I'm just rambling. Because the priest will catch you and he will smoke it. And then you'll wonder at the 11 o'clock mass, is there a skunk in here? I'm sober curious. What is that? It means that I'm more curious about being sober than I am about being drunk. Because the thing is, I know who I am when I drink. I've met drunk me time and time again. We've had a lot of good times, but we've also had some really bad times. And so now, as a sober, curious person, I'm trying to find out what my sober personality is like. I want to know who she is. I want to know what she does. And so in the last 2 years, I have been on a sober, curious movement or journey. And I learned a lot. Sober me, she goes to bed at 9 o'clock. And she likes to read more, for sure. She's saving a lot of money. Sober me is doing really good with saving money. But it's still tough when I go outside, because the espresso martinis, they call me. And I have to fight that urge whenever I'm walking through a place that I know serves some really good espresso martinis. So I think to myself, wow, I could just come in here, I could have 1 or 2 espresso martinis, I could write my blog, and I'd be on my merry little way, right? But it's not that simple and it's not that easy. And yes, I know I could sit there and have my 2 espresso martinis, but one thing could lead to another. I might text somebody that I shouldn't be texting. I might go outside and trip and fall. It's happened to me before. So now that I know the things that lead me down the path of drinking, I choose to kind of continue to push through the unknown of sobriety. And some days it's boring. Some days it's pretty lit. But every morning that I wake up and I'm sober, I never ever regret that I didn't drink the night before. Like, I never wake up in the morning and think, damn, man, I should have gotten drunk last night. I never ever wake up wishing that, like, fuck, like, I should have had that extra fucking espresso martini. So that's a good feeling. Because I wake up and I feel good about myself. Versus when I used to drink, I'd wake up and I either didn't feel good about myself, or I would think to myself, all right, come on, let's keep the party going. Only for days later to look at myself in the mirror and go down that shameful, guilty cycle of, why are you doing this? And now I look in the mirror and I tell myself, keep going. You should keep going. Because you look good. Honestly, like, the vanity is a big reason too. I just know that I look so much better sober than I do drunk. Like, I have way more of, like, a chiseled jawline after a couple months of not drinking. But when I drink, I look like a little puffer fish. So, yeah, I'm staying sober. Not right now, though. It's the holidays. Like, after the holidays, I'll go back. Because that's what it is. Like, when you're sober curious, I'm not saying I'm sober all the time. I'm not. I'm just sober the majority of the time. And I'm curious about being sober more. But that doesn't mean that, like, I'm not going to get lit tonight. Drink a drink.